Yo guys, what's going on? We're back with some Cosmic Eclipse trial runs, seeing which decks are garbage and which decks are super awesome. So today we got ReshiZek versus Darkbox. Zach will be playing Darkbox and Meg will be playing ReshiZek. So, it looks like they're all set up, mostly. Do you know who's going first? Zach's going first. Alrighty, he starts with the Sneaky Sneasel. He starts the Sneaky Sneasel, and Meg starts with Zeraora. Zach immediately throws down the tag call, searching through the deck. Opts to go for Cynthia and Caitlyn, and Darkrai Umbreon. Darkrai Umbreon has been out for a little bit, but one of the main attackers for Darkbox, but a new card, Cynthia and Caitlyn, basically lets you get a supporter from the discard, and it has a bonus effect where you can choose to discard a card. If you do, you can draw 3. Cosmic Eclipse introduced these sort of tag team cards, tag team supporters, not just Pokemon. You can also have supporters now, and Tag Call, which he played earlier, allows you to grab any tag team cards. So he goes ahead, drops the Poipole and the Darkrai Umbreon. He decided to trash the Chaotic Swell. Do we know if you have to grab a supporter for the draw 3? Okay. Alrighty. So yes, you can skip the supporter part and do the discard draw. Meg taking a little bit to think, see what she's got going on. She goes for the Viridian. Lets her grab some energy. The new Reshiram Zekrom from Cosmic Eclipse has 2 different energy costs, fire and lightning, so you can put your the two coolest types in standard right now, fire and lightning. Lightning, you get Volkner and Tapu Koko, but Meg is not playing any Volkner. She's just going straight Welder, Cynthia with some Lilies, and a one of Rosa. I really like the Rosa. I think it's a good card that is slightly... I can't tell if it's underrated or not, but it's similar to Teammates in that when you get knocked out, you get to grab a Pokemon, trainer, and energy. But we might see that later when some knockouts start to happen. Now that Meg's finally got some stuff going on, she grabbed a Poipole. She probably played, I assume she played a Treasure. Went to play Lily for turn. Got a bunch of juicy stuffs in her hand. Gonna play another Treasure. This version of ReshiZek opts for a Naganadel engine to charge up from the discard. ReshiZek isn't on the field now, but its attack is sort of like Blacephalon's, more like Turtonators, in that you can discard energies and do a bunch of damage, specifically from the bench, but since they come from the discard, Naganadel can charge them back up. So Meg's gonna try to get as many Poipole as she can turn 1 so that she can just go crazy turn 2 and start taking some nice knockouts. Viridian is nice. We want Viridian over Giant Hearth. Even though Giant Hearth gets you 2 fire energies, Viridian gets you lightning energies. And Meg runs 9 fire and 5 lightning. And if 1 or 2 of those lightning happen to be prized, then she only has a couple lightning in deck, and Viridian is going to be the way to search it out. So on to Zak's turn, he trashes the Guzzlord. You're really not going to need that in this matchup. It is a new card for 2 dark and 2 colorless. It does 120 damage, and then it's sort of like Mega Sableye and Tyranitar, where if you knock out something, you get an extra prize. But the difference between Mega Sableye and Tyranitar and Guzzlord is that Guzzlord can knock out anything and get the bonus. So one of the big cards that a lot of people have been liking is red and blue, and this card helps out Darkbox so much. Not only allowing Zak to have a search for Weavile, but you can, this is another tag team supporter with a bonus effect where you can discard 2 cards from your hand, and you get to attach 2 energies onto the Pokemon that you just evolved. But since you're evolving into Weavile, that doesn't really matter because you can just move them around however you like. Zak is still getting his board set up with communications and other consistency cards. He has a pretty nice board, having 2 Poipoles and his Weavile set up. One thing though that's kind of shaky is that he only has 1 Weavile in play. So if Meg can get Reshiram and Zekrom tag team setup, which is so easy, just needing to welder attach for turn, and then she could evolve her Naganadels and then just go for a big one-shot on the Weavile. Then Zak would not be able to move his energies in any way he likes, which would cripple the deck pretty heavily. But Zak already has his Darkrai and Umbreon set up, so he would still have some time to set up another Weavile, and it's not really gonna... It'll hurt, but it won't hurt as bad because he already has an attacker going. What attack did you use?
Black Lance.
Okay, so he went ahead and used Black Lance. The dice just made it look weird. Setting up that Zeraora for a future knockout and softening up the Reshiram Zekrom. One interesting thing is that a lot of these tag teams have 270 hit points, so if Black Lance pinged one of them with the 60, then Zak could Great Catcher, or he doesn't even need a Great Catcher if Meg decides to attack with it. He would just need to set up a Greedy Crush and take 4 prizes. Then kill a Zeraora, and then it would just all be over. Meg got a Naganadel set up. She's also got Zeraora set up. So all she really needs to take a knockout is Welder, attach Lightning for turn, and then double charge up. She got the Welder, decides to attach to the clean ReshiZek, gets to draw 3 cards. She's doing a little bit of thinking so far. Seems like there's no energy in the discard, which kind of stinks, because if she Dedenes and then does not have energy to discard, then she whiffs a knockout. But so she ended up getting some energy, but can she discard it to get a knockout? Attach for turn. Can she Cherish Ball? Where is she going with the Cherish Ball? Looks Looks like she's eyeing up the Heatran. She has a full bench though, so I'm kind of unsure. Maybe she can go for double charge up and then B-string, because in Megan's list she runs 2 B-strings and they could be prized, but they might not be. If you end up prizing one, it shouldn't be too big of a deal, but being able to use B-string with this deck definitely sounds like a good idea. Definitely get some good things going.
Yeah, second commentator here. You know, we fiddled around with different versions of this deck, and to be honest, I think it's going to be a while till we get a fully optimized ReshiZek. Because the deck does work without B-string. It's not like you have to have it, but I just think there's so many ways you can go with this deck. You know, there's just so many things you can take in and take out, but the B-string was a really fun addition.
I think another way you could take the Reshiram and Zekrom deck is going with an Ends Resolve route. I think that's what most people wanted to start with. But in my opinion, Ends Resolve is kind of risky, because you look at the top 6 cards of your deck, take all the energy, and you can attach them in any way you like, but all the other cards go to the discard pile. So you're kind of going in for an all or nothing kind of deal. One thing you could do is just run maybe 1 or 2 Ends Resolve in order to get the cross break bonus. Some tag teams have this new kind of bonus effect where instead of if you have a certain number of energies, some like ReshiZek and Sagalay and Lunala, to name a few, if you use a certain supporter, so in ReshiZek's case you use End Resolve, you not only get to do a 170 snipe on the bench, you get to do 2 170 snipes on the bench. So you could ideally knock out 2 Dedenes and win a game. Or you could knock out an Oricorio, or you can knock out some supporting Pokemon like Malamar or Naganadel. However it works out. But being able to snipe is a very useful ability. One Pokemon that was known for being able to snipe on the bench in this manner was Pikarom, and Pikarom was a very strong deck, being able to tag ball and get these kinds of prizes. So it seems Zach managed to get the Greedy Crush, like I said. Did you go for, I believe, did you go for the yeah, so but you did the Great Catcher?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like I said earlier, Zach's game plan went into fruition. He managed to pull off the combo. But now he's down to 2 prizes. Meg does have a reset stamp, which she could grab off this Rosa, but she might want to grab something else that would help her game more. It is a possibility, putting Zach down to 2, but I'm not quite sure exactly what that would do for her. Well, she does have the ReshiZek fully powered up. She could do double charging up and just go straight for the damage. However, Mega Sableye and Tyranitar are one of the few Pokemon that have 280 HP. So even if she can discard all her energy, the problem is that ReshiZek has a limitation on it to where you can only discard 3 and do a maximum of 270. Which is it's very good, but it really pulls some issues when you're trying to when you're known for being a huge one-shotting tag team deck, and now that isn't happening because of that 10 damage. If Meg was really afraid of 280 HP Pokemon, a new one that came out is Arceus Dialga Palkia, which we'll talk about in another video. But that Pokemon has 280, so there are multiple Pokemon that have 280 HP, which provides a problem for Reshiram Zekrom. Not quite sure where Meg wants to go, especially because, it's kind of rough. Where does she want to go with this? So it seems that Meg is going for the Weavile. It is a good play. I'm just a little curious about, cause if Zach has like another great catcher, because he does run 2. Of course, it could be prized, but I'm pretty sure he just grabbed 4 prizes from the Greedy Crush, and I do not believe Megan reset stamped. Nope. So Zach has a bunch of cards in his hand, and that could easily be the great catcher. So Meg goes ahead and goes for the Fabled Flare Bolts for knockout. And there it is. Just like I said, he got the great catcher and just trashed it. Sometimes you just gotta risk it. Since Dark Box is pretty, like, it's not necessarily clunky, it's just packed. You have Zach. Yeah, it's a 70 card deck. So Zach can only run 2 great catcher. And honestly, I think that's maybe all you need, to be honest. Definitely pulled out for him there. You basically have... Megan decided to go first. In game 2. Zach is basically saying with this list, I'm just going to try to get some good damage in with Darkrai Umbreon, and then on the critical turn, that's when I'll go for my great catcher. If he prizes 1 great catcher, it shouldn't be that big of a deal.
Yeah, that's why
Okay. One interesting card that just came out is a water type Sneasel. It's interesting because of another new card, Professor Oak's Setting, which got a little hype with this deck, because you are able to grab a dark type Sneasel, a water type Sneasel, a Poipole, or a Ditto, however you want to work it out, just as long as you're grabbing 3 different types of basic. Is it basic or just 3 different types?
3 basics.
As long as you're grabbing 3 different types of basics, you're in there, and that's kind of all you need. Like, you get the double Sneasel, maybe Ditto, or Poipole. Sounds like Meg isn't too happy about her starting hand. What are the reset stamp? Oh man, could you lay it out for the camera? Or yeah. So, oh man, that is so rough. Megan lost all of her B strings. Just like in the other game, Zach could skip B string turn, but now that they're gone, Zach really doesn't have a lot to worry about now. Reset, double beast. There's not much that can punish him too hard. Interestingly, Meg opted to go for 4 Custom Catcher instead of Great Catcher. It's pretty neat how some decks are going for Great Catcher and other are going for Custom Catcher. I really love how we have this diversity and choice in the game. Previously, it was you just ran Guzma and that's it. Or you just ran Lysander for your primary Gust effect. It's really healthy and cool for a game when you can have all these different options. You can say, hey, I only need to use 2 cards and gust up whatever I want, but I have to have another of that card and have it at the same time. Additionally, it takes up more space in my deck. So you can only use 2 Custom Catchers unless you have a recycling effect, like Oranguru. Or if your deck is more tight on space or you're a single prize deck, then you can opt for Great Catcher.
Oh man. Okay. Drop it.
Alright.
So it looks like Zach opted to go for Mountain Munch, correct? And it got rid of the Zeraora. Mountain Munch, you're really not going to use it too often, but sometimes it can pay off like it did. For 1 dark type energy, you can discard the top card of your opponent's deck. It's not too spectacular, but hey, it is what it is.
It can do what it needs to do.
It can do what it needs to do. Meg's just trying her best to get set up. Maybe she can go for some sort of knockout. She used up both charging up. Oh, yes. Now. Okay. Yes, she used both charging ups. There we go. There we go. Fresh. She drops to Dene, getting a fresh hand. Hopefully she gets something juicy. Can she do anything? Maybe there's nothing. Even if she got like Gust, there's really nothing good to Gust. She might just have to opt for energy switch. What is going on? I think that's a neat play. Not really too sure about that. Not quite sure why she went ahead and did that. Meg's just thinking some things through. Looks like she wants to play a card, but she's not quite too sure on what she wants to do yet. Maybe she wants to commit. Maybe it's not the best time to commit to anything. So she decides to Lily, see what she gets off here. Anything good, anything good. Heat Factory, that is pretty good. Now she can draw even more cards, which this deck loves to do. While Meg's just thinking, some notes that the players had. Zach wrote some notes about his Dark Box list. You see the Guzzlord in the active. Zach says he went for a heavy Guzzlord count in anticipation of Malamar and Pidgeotto control, which are getting reasonable hype. Especially, I could see a lot of Malamar at your local League Cup. Just depends on how people are feeling, but Malamar gets some neat tools, and there seems to be a trend that every time a new set comes out, everyone wants to try Malamar, and Zach wants to take advantage of that as much as possible. Pidgeotto control, it's sort of a bonus. I don't think you specifically run Guzzlord to specifically counter Pidgeotto. It's just sort of a bonus.
Do you know how busted this Guzzlord would be if we still had Choice Band in this format? My fantasy right now is I want to see Zach hit the ReshiZek and then hit it again, and then bam, that's 250 or something, or no, 120 plus 30. What is that? 150? Yeah, that would be 300 total if you hit it for 2 turns. That's what I want to see. I know we can't see that though.
Like we were saying about the Pidgeotto control matchup, Zach notes if you can be careful about your stadiums, you can avoid birds locking at you out with Power Plant. One concern would be that they just drop you on the combo turn, and that they chip to control your top decks, so that you don't get the stadium. But if you keep your stadiums as much as possible, that increases the chance that you'll hit them. Even though it may seem that you can't draw into them. Zach noted that you could... He said you can play a 2-3 Poiple Nagaline with 1 Weavile-GX disc reload, since your supporters at time aren't drawing you cards. And new supporters like red and blue want you to discard from the hand. And Weavile would synergize with those supporters, being able to get you fresh cards. This deck doesn't really have a real draw engine. I mean, you're just going off Dedenes. So having Weavile would give you some form of draw. One interesting also about Weavile is that it can attack. If you needed an attack, you could. For 2 colorless, it does base 50, and if you played a supporter, it does 70 plus. It's okay. It's neat. Some people run it, some people won't, and that goes back to the diversity thing. I love how that there's so many options. As I mentioned earlier, you could run Oak setup. Zach says he initially ran Oak setup with a split of Sneasels, but in testing, not using Gear and Jirachi made it awkward. So that's one possibility that you could go if you wanted to use the Oaks route. You could use Jirachi and Gear. It all depends. You just got to test it and see how you like it, and that's why we have these videos, is you see how these decks can run. Guzzlord and Darkrai Prism provide options versus Keldeo and the ADP team, Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia, which we'll talk about in another video, but that is a deck that is getting general hype, so you want to have some answer to it. Keldeo GX is immune to all GX and EX, so at least we have some options to try to get around that. Zach has 1 Water Sneasel just because it has some niche use in agility in a worst case scenario. Simple. You shouldn't want to use it, but it happens. Stadium count is... Zach is still experimenting with stadiums, so just because he's running this doesn't mean it's set in stone. So it seems that Zach... So getting back to the match...
You're just knocked out and you can't play any triggers.
So getting back to the match, Zach pulls off a crazy Dark Moon. And as he explained, straight knockout. I don't think Meg saw that one coming. I certainly did. Zach didn't see it coming either. Oh man.
All off the lily.
That's what is so cool about this Dark Box deck, is that these crazy combos can come out of nowhere, and just now it's oh, what can Meg do? She got her ReshiZek knocked out. At least she has Tapu Koko with Dance of the Ocean, but she can't play any trainers. Oh man, how will she go about doing this? At least she gets her charge ups and attach for turn. So she could at least get the knockout. And honestly, as long as she has some energy switch or attach for turn. Oh, but does she have it though? Ooh. Oh, she has the Viridian. There you go. She does. And Zach goes with the scoop. It was kind of a risky play, but Meg managed to set up the fabled Firebolts. Zach scooped because he would lose all of his energies, and there really is no coming
That's why I
back
asked,
from
I was
that.
like, as long as I can play Pokemon, we're good. We in there.
Man, Evan, this best 2 out of 3 is turning out to be a lot better than the one we just did with Blounds versus what was the other deck? what did we-
Brazard.
Brazard. Blounds versus Brazard. This has turned out pretty good.
We might keep that video. We might redo it. It was interesting. We might have it like as a bonus kind of thing, just seeing how both decks can just flop.
No. It just feels bad discarding.
No, I know. Like I said,
everything.
just as a tag trigger, it would be. Because like the funny thing is, if you didn't have.
This best 2 out of 3 was really nice because we got to see both decks shine in their own way. We're going to a game 3. I assume Zach wants to go first, especially because he's got the setup
I'm in
down.
there, I'm good. Thought it like stopped you from using any card. I was like,
I'm not
oh,
quite
man.
too sure about specifically the list that we can talk about. Meg is running one of Mewtwo and Mew-GX. She hasn't dropped it down at all, and she really doesn't need to. She said it's mostly for the Guardian matchup
Is yours as
because
bad as mine?
No.
because first Guardian hits weakness on ReshiZek, and second Guardian has a fairy term Dragon. And because you can only have one tool at a time, they can either use the ability one or you can use the dragon one. You just use whatever attacker that they don't have. So if they have the ability charm, you just use ReshiZek as normal, or if they have the dragon charm, you just use Mewtwo. Just gives you some outs. In all honesty, I feel like I would rather just use Heatran's Hot Burn to knock out a Guardian. That's just me. Guardian has a little bit of hype, so you do want to have answers to it. So it seems Zach attaches for turn, bench some stuff, and then Lily, and then Ultra Space, grabbing the Poiples. So he's already got his Poipole set up, he already got his Sneasel set up. He's calming away the Mega Lopunny, I assume, for Sneasel, yep. So there's not much Meg can do in stopping Zach's setup. He's already got the Poipoles and the Sneasels set up. And then next turn he can just go bam bam, get his Nags and get his Sneasel Weaviles out, and he's just gonna go to town. He opts to just pass. He's gonna sit on his hand. We don't know what's really going on. Meg thinks some things through before she makes any plays. There you go. That Meg goes for the Ultra Space. That is definitely the way to go. Ultra Space first. See what you got going on, especially because she runs Poiple herself. So that kind of helped out Meg in a way. I think Meg will greatly appreciate the Ultra Space. So she's gonna grab a Poiple. Earlier it seemed she was eyeing the Cherish Ball, which she's gonna go ahead and play. Wonder what she's gonna grab. There's a bunch of different options that she could go for. Seems like she's looking at the Zeraora. I think that's a pretty good choice. Yep, Zeraora. What else does Meg got going on? Going in for a second Cherish Ball. She's popping off here, getting her things going. Not quite sure what you grab from second Cherish Ball. Maybe Dedenne if she doesn't have... She goes for the Mewtwo and Mew. Not quite sure why exactly. Is there a specific reason you opted to go for a Mew Mew?
Just to get out of the deck. It's hard.
Alright. Makes sense.
It's a little nice.
She's gonna attach for turn, and then she's gonna think before. Looks like she's about to bench another ReshiZek. So now she has her attackers for the rest of the game. Doesn't need too much else. She's gonna Dedenne. Yeah, she really didn't need that stuff in her hand. It looks like a Welder, Cynthia, and Mew Mew. Oh yikes! Did she get anything to follow up? Yeah, she can get another Poipole. Yep, there she goes. So Zach got his setup and Meg got her setup. So this is looking like it could be an awesome game. Both players got their ideal setup in terms of board state. We don't know quite sure how their hands are gonna go, but looks like both players got at least something going on. So what else is Meg going to do? Lily for 5. She's gonna play her supporter. For turn, Lily goes really nice with this deck, being able to Dedenne and have so many discarding options. It looks like most of her deck is insta-playables. So she gets a big Lily, and then she just decides to pass it on to Zach. So Zach's going to space for, I assume, the Nag. That's probably the best. Yep, he goes for the Nag. He's going for the Nags. Shuffling up the deck, maybe thinking some more. No, he's just gonna shuffle up. He's gonna check Meg's discard pile, see what she's cooking up on over there. His hand looks okay. At least he's got a play. He can trash that and go for the Lily. Draw 3. 1, 2, 3. He's definitely got something else going on here, which we may see coming up. I think we can say his hand got a whole lot better. Just depends if he's going to go ahead and do it. I'm not quite sure if he wants to do it yet. He's still thinking, because he doesn't have to go ahead and do anything. Looks like he's going to attach and evolve and charging up. Doesn't really have to. He's gonna go for the tag call, search for any 2 tag teams and throw them in the hand. He's gonna think for a little bit, see what he's got going on. Ideally, we could see a Weavile, but he can't grab it from tag call. Looks like he's getting red and blue and Mega Lopunny. So maybe he's just gonna chill out for now and say, hey, I'm just gonna chill on what I got. I'll wait for next turn to go ahead and get my Weavile.
Hey, tell me if you agree with this. I think this match that we're recording right now is like the most balanced match that we're recording. And by that I mean, I think every card in both of these lists is a fair card. You've got, for example, you've got Rosa, which it gets you specific cards out of your deck, but it has that requirement that a Pokemon had to be knocked out last turn. And we kind of had that discussion in a previous video about like how we thought Teammates was a balanced card, but I think that every single card in both of these lists is pretty fair. Nothing's too broken except for Tag Call. I think Tag Call is the most broken card here. Like,
why is that
what is
card less than $1?
and that too. What's the deal with these prices on Tag Call? But I mean, come on. You can get 2 cards, right? And
supporter Pokemon.
And they're not specific about what they are, other than it has to be a tag team. That's really powerful. What do you think? Are there any overly powerful or unbalanced cards in any of these deck lists we're watching right now?
Maybe Guzzlord being able to take those extra prizes. It ruins a lot of decks. I mean, it just straight up bodies Malamar. Like, in theory, you could have just went ahead and Gigafalled. Zach didn't use it this match so far. He might. He's got the Mega Sableye and Tyranitar on the bench, but I'm not quite sure if he's going to be able to get 10 energies on it and go for the Gigafall. It's definitely a possibility, though. So Meg definitely has to watch out, especially because she's playing a sort of fast deck that it could get down to 15 cards, and Zach goes, oh, you've only got a certain amount of cards? Gigafall, good game. So it's definitely something you always have to consider. Pidgeotto Control is another thing that has to watch out for the Gigafall. If they can't get the lock going, then they're susceptible to decking out because of Gigafall. So, seems Meg went for the switch. Welder. Is Meg going to go for the Tingling turn? I'm a little bit confused. Why exactly did you... Oh, because he was asleep. Yeah, that's right. Just double check. Couldn't you have weldered and then retreated and then charging out and then Fable Player Bolts? I mean... Yeah. I mean, it's like an option, but I think... Tingling Return really isn't that bad. Especially because that 10 damage, like, oh, that 10 extra HP makes so much of a difference. But now because Meg got some damage on the Mega Sableye and Tyranitar, that allows her to now one-shot. That now allows her to knock out the Mega Sableye Tyranitar. Seems Zach went for the Ultra Space, just seeing what he's got going on. One interesting thing that I like is a one-of U-turn board. A lot of his Pokemon, specifically Weavile, have one retreat cost. It allows you to keep your energy in play, and if it gets knocked out, you get the U-turn board back. So Zach, why did you use U-turn board over escape board? They're pretty similar, but was there a specific reason you chose U-turn? So there you go. You get it back. You haven't felt that paralysis and sleep were too much of an issue? We really don't have a lot of cards other than NK with the Hypnosis putting you to sleep. I'm not quite sure what else is out there. Rai, if Pikarom is still a thing, then that could put you into paralysis. But Zach is playing 2 Switch and 1 Mal and Lana, so I think he's got those bases covered. So Zach did not find his switching cards, but so he just ends up passing. This is a huge turn for Meg, being able to knock out a tag team. Even though I think Zach will be able to get the return knockout with Darkrai, it's still kind of a big deal that Meg knocks this out. Because in theory, I believe this game is pretty 50-50, but a game plan that Meg could go with is knocking out this Mega Sableye, Tyranitar, then she would have to deal with the Darkrai, Prism, And then if Zach gets a Weavile, maybe Meg can go for double custom catcher, Fable Flare Bolts for game. But before we get there, we have to just get this first knockout. And it seemed like Meg didn't really have a way to discard, and I could have sworn I saw some energy in there. No.
I thought there was too.
The Switch one would be energy so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. This is also why this is the trial. This is the trials. We're just testing. If we end up misplaying, it's not that big of a deal as long as we catch it. We're mostly seeing how the decks run and how the matchups go. Not necessarily seeing who can beat who and being like, haha, I beat you. It's like, okay, whatever, we're just practicing. Meg's doing a little bit of thinking, which is reasonable. But does she have any plays? Treasure away. Fire energy. Looks like Meg's got something thinking up on here. Grabbing up a Poiple, thinning out the deck. Looks like she got the charging up. Is there any other way to... Did Meg already attach for turn? Yeah, she already attached for turn. Not quite sure what she can do. Yikes. Meg went ahead and passed. I think I would have at least retreated into Zeraora, maybe? I don't know how important that's gonna... Like, it's... I think Zach's gonna punish Meg pretty hard right now. Yeah. I would have retreated into Zeraora. Especially because now all Zach has to do is get the Great Catcher and then knock out the Zeraora and it's all in. Looks like... Yeah, looks like Zach's spreading out his energy. Not that too big of a deal. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You have any energy in the discard? Go for the Gigafall. The BM. The bad manners. Zach's doing a little bit of thinking.
If I have 10 energy total, I just start. We'll just
Quadruple price. Oh, man. That's why we're practicing. Like, this ReshiZek deck is totally new. And Dark Box wasn't that popular during the Unified Minds and Unbroken Minds period. So we can't really, like... I don't think you can blame Meg too much for not quite understanding. Meg, by chance, have you considered a Turtonator? A baby Turtonator? The, for 3 fire, and you can charge up with Naganadel, you can weld or attach for turn, and then, knock out something.
Yeah, the top 2 gossip trends, I'll call them, for the Cosmic Eclipse format top 2 things people have been hyping up is the death of Pikarom decks, but then the number 2 thing I hear people all over talking about is that the Dragon Majesty Turtonator is going to be a thing again. We'll see what happens.
Meg, did you consider it at all, or it was just a no?
I haven't thought about it.
Okay. So that's one possibility that you could try. You're only running 9 energies, so it might be a little hard to pull off, but if you go against Keldeo, I think that would be your best option.
Yeah, this ReshiZek deck is so expandable and adaptable. I think that we're going to discover a lot of things can be done with this. A lot of stuff can be taken in, a lot of stuff can be taken out. I think it's going to be a long time before we figure out the optimal list.
Looks like there's a little bit of confusion about charging ups, I believe.
She threw out the counters back.
Oh.
Wait, do I need?
You need it.
Yeah. So Meg's gonna take the big knockout. Zach loses a lot of energy, but he does have those 2 Naganadels. Oh, he goes for the... Is that a knockout? Oh, man. Meg's got to read the card. Bah. Bah.
I assure you, this is a real Pokemon match. We did not script this.